first of all, I really want to thank you for accepting this invitation for our podcast.
I'm happy to be
here. We're great fans of yours at blastU.
Thank you.
You were at the last event we did in October with Bernardo Bonjean from Avanci and from Sergio Rezende from Fundação Ecossocial. And it was a great moment that we had together, and I'm really happy and honored that we have this moment together, and so that blastU's audience will be able to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you for such a big introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was reading a little bit about you, and I came upon the fact that I didn't really know what title or label I would give you. So I think it would be a nice beginning to sort of tell us a little bit about who you are. We know who you are, obviously, but what you do.
Well, just to put you at ease, I myself don't know what title to give myself. I really struggle with it because I work at so many different levels. Individually, of course, I work with companies, leaders, management, family, relationships. So there's so many different levels at which I work. But if I had to put a bottom line to it, it's really about people. How we operate, meaning our mindset, our human mind, and our heart plays a role in anything we do. So the human mind, I guess, is really the focus of my attention, and the human element that come with the mind, which is emotions, connection, and then driving our life from that place.
Okay. So what is also interesting is that you started that as a lawyer, as a
prosecutor.
Yes, exactly. And obviously you made a transformation, a transition. How did this come about? What happened?
So I was living in Los Angeles at the time. My family was in New York. I'd just been transferred to LA to work at the DA's office as a prosecutor. And I was new, so I was looking to connect with people, meet people, and I happened to see an ad that said Pandit Ravi Shankar, which you may know, was a very famous sitar player. So I thought I was going to a sitar concert. And when I arrived, I realized it was a spiritual master. It's a very common name, Ravi Shankar. Pandit is a title. And so assuming it was a music concert, I ended up in a place of self-discovery, and I'm curious. So, I don't think anything is an accident. If I happen to get there under whatever assumptions I have, I decided to stay, and I hit upon a chord inside of myself that I'd never considered. I'm Indian, very logical, very practical, very rational upbringing. A lawyer, which means more of the same, in Los Angeles, the yuppie life, going for what's obvious, what's touchable, what's tangible. And of course, I know the element of love and connection and humanity, we all do, but I never thought about it as being the driving force to anything and everything we do in our life. And so it hit a chord that I couldn't have imagined. I spent a weekend going through a program, which I was very fortunate enough to do with the master himself. And eventually I went on to become a teacher. I went to India. I spent from 1989 to 1995 there, studying directly with him, traveling around the world, and that's what I do today. I travel around the world, connect with people, and empower them to see the best version of themselves, really. And no matter how much we achieve in life, if you ask anybody, do you think you're living up to your full potential? Nobody will raise their hand. I ask thousands of people in every seminar, every workshop, do you live up to your potential? Do you feel like you've reached your top of the line? And of course the answer is no, because our potentiality is far, far, far greater than anything we can imagine. And the only way to discover it is to step into the unknown. That's the thing we're most afraid of. Yes. So I, in a sense, fluff people up to really see what they're capable of, you know.
You take them out of their comfort zone.
I get them out of their comfort zone. I get them out of their limited beliefs and assumptions about what they think they can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very delicate because what we believe is our religion. It's our truth, you know. We're conditioned with it. It's been validated by results. We have proof that this is how something is. And my job is to, some way, through the vent, through the window, through under the door, enter into that space and have them take a look at themselves and say, oh, there's something more to me than whatever I thought. And that is the foundation to anything you want to succeed in. Relationships, leadership, office, friendship, and in the end, life fulfillment. Because what if you have everything in life, but you don't feel fulfilled?
Mm-hmm.
Then you'd find that there was some emptiness, something left behind. And I think that human connection is the link. And so maybe, to go back to your question about my label or title, I'm just thinking in the moment, is perhaps I'm all about connection.
Yes.
With oneself
and with the others.
And with the other and our environment.
Yes. Linking people together.
Yes.
Like
yes.
a big chain
yes.
of love.
Well, we are. We just have forgotten it.
Yes,
you know,
true.
We are.
So you do a lot of work with companies, like we've seen at blastU. You were with Avanci.
Yeah.
And so part of your work is to advise also companies. So can you I mean, what do you offer as more practically for a company? And
perhaps the answer lies in what brought me to Brazil, to São Paulo, this trip.
Yes.
I'm working with a company, Engiform. It's a 42-year-old company, engineering. And today it's divided into 3 companies: real estate, clean energy, and engineering, construction and real estate.
Yes.
And I was brought in for assessment. What does that really mean? It's a CEO, a leader, who's saying, because it's a multi-generational company and currently it's being transferred from the prior owners, the father and another CEO. Phenomenal organization, because they've been operating with 2 CEOs. That in itself is already worth studying. And it's being transferred to the next generation, with a system and an approach. The culture is different, the economy is different, the politics are different. So, of course, they're in a transition. And I was brought in to say, please assess our culture. And any assessment, whether it's about a leader or the organization or the culture, is really about hard conversations. People don't say what they need to say because there's a lack of psychological safety. People are afraid of the consequences. So we filter, we're polite, we don't get to the bottom line. And so I get brought in, I do some assessment, I speak to the leaders, some management,
You put down all the barriers.
Yes, and it's phenomenal to me also that in an hour's time you can get 30 managers to share direct input and feedback to the CEO, to the owners and shareholders, not just about themselves as leaders and as owners and as shareholders and as directors, but also about the organization and its system, culture, process, protocol, because everything works with the human mind.
Of course.
What goes on inside shows up outside, So I
So
guess
you-
I'm about hard conversations and getting to the truth of the matter,
Yeah, and is your approach very different from one company to another? How do you do your assessment of?
So I have 2 very basic principles which I start with. How you do one thing, you do everything in life. Everything, It's just more visible in some place. How does Maggie operate? Perhaps shows up more as Maggie as a mother, maybe as a wife, maybe in her business, maybe with her friends. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And what you do one thing is how and when and how you do all the rest. So these two principles is what I look to do to address. So, okay, what are you doing and how are you doing it? That's my entry into methodology. So of course, each organization is different. The leaders are different, of course. The skills, the talents, the structure, everything is different. And what I do is I look behind the scene, not at what you say, not at what's in front of me, because that's conditioned response.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes,
already have your story rehearsed.
Yes.
You already know what to tell me if I ask you a question, so I'm not interested in what you have to say. No, okay, you don't. But most of us do,
Yes.
you know? And so what I do is I try to get behind the scene by rearranging the pieces in the mind. I ask you the most random questions. I create the most random simulation to see what do you do and how do you do it. And then I give you input and very direct feedback. Very direct. That's perhaps the work and the gift that I bring to the table. It's not about sugarcoating.
Yes.
It's not about taking 30 sessions to get someplace that we could get to in a session or two.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about holding up a mirror and saying, are you your best version? And do you realize this is not working for you and you're repeating the same thing that worked for you 10 years ago? That you're in a conditioned response. It appears automatic. It appears new, but it's really automatic.
So it must be quite difficult because people, it's tough sometimes to hear, to listen to.
Yes, it's true.
So how's the response? Do you have good? You must have good experience and less good experience. How does it?
Everything is relative.
Yes.
For sure, I would not say I have bad experiences.
No.
I really love what I do.
No, but I'm saying the response of the people in the company.
Well, I'm very upfront. Before I sign on, I say, do you realize what you're signing up for? It's not a transparency, engagement, 100% engagement, willingness to say, I want to go from good to great is why you would bring me on board, or from okay to good. It doesn't matter. But that only happens if I emulate and live what I'm expecting of you. So I'm not giving input and feedback and looking for transparency and intimacy is a good word, and connection and communication, without being there for you. So I become the risk taker. That's the first step, or maybe the beginning of any conversation. I become the risk taker, and therefore you see that I'm on your side. And my side is not CEO or management or the owners, it's the organization
itself.
What do I do to uplift you as a leader, management in their role, the organization in its process and its procedure, and so on. So I'm all about the hard conversations, I guess, in personal life or professional life.
And so what about the solution that you, how do you implant, or how do the company implant, because it's
So first step is self-awareness.
Yes.
Second step is self-awareness. And third step is self-awareness, right? You can't change systems without changing yourself. It's possible. Then it's no longer embracing culture. It's no longer embracing leadership. It's strategizing culture. It's manipulation, to use a word that's very strong. It's figuring out ways to get self-gain. And I'm sorry, everybody gets that that's what we do. Our vibe, our feeling, our noise in the background communicates far more than our words. And of course our actions communicate far more than our words. And of course our feelings, our inner noise or calm communicates far more than anything else.
Yes.
And so either people resonate to that vibe or they don't. And strategy is not the thing that makes that happen. And so, culture assessment or adapting and living a culture of an organization is much more than strategizing. It's embracing it. And that means having an honest conversation about how you operate. And the thing is, by the time we're 7 years old, we're already programmed. This is just basic neuroscience.
Yes.
7, maybe 9. How we think, how we do things, what we do is fairly well established by the time we're 9 and perhaps by the time we're 15. And no one really brings attention and awareness consciously in school.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, some bit at home with parents, but even then, there's so much information that kids pick up on without parents being there through media and, all the things that go on in school and so on and so forth. So what I'm really doing is peeling an onion. Really. I don't know if there's a title for that, but I'm peeling an onion.
Uh-huh.
And it's that aha that allows one to say, this is no longer working. I need to move in a new direction.
Mm-hmm.
Look, today talking about people and purpose is not a new conversation. Just bottom line is an obsolete idea in terms of companies and its growth. I think in a matter of 8 to 10 years, organizations that are not people-oriented, human value and human traits are going to disappear. We don't realize it, but they're going to disappear. Customer service is getting to be bigger and bigger issue. Why? Because as much as we get into technology, we're going to want to connect on a human level that much. And it's about self-awareness there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a question for you, because we are really in a time where we have new leaders. I mean, these young companies with there is a new image of companies and leadership within these companies. Do you think it's different for these new companies?
Well,
or do you think that the issues at the end of the day are the same?
I think that more towards the second on a certain level. Let me explain why. First of all, the millennials today are raised by non-millennials. Okay, and at least let's just say that. If not baby boomers, they're certainly not millennials. So the parent is not operating with the same mindset, culture, political situation, economic situation, none of it. They're adapting to the current structure, the parents, but their mindset, the way they were conditioned, the way they were raised is very much non-today's world, if you want to see it that way, And they have raised these children to a certain degree, today's young leader is a combination. He's the culture of today's world, a millennial, and the culture that the parents put in. So they're a hybrid, as much as we call them millennials.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to see that in many ways, the skills of human emotion and negotiation, connection, purpose, self-identity, collaboration, all those things are not so clear. What we call social media, for instance, is not really social at all. It's media. We talked about this earlier.
Yes.
They don't know how to negotiate emotions, really. They don't know how to sit in front of someone and say, I don't like that. It's a lot easier to show a thumb down or a thumb up than to sit in front of you, risk myself, my ego, my thoughts, my position, my feelings, and say, Maggie, no, or yes, Sending an icon of a heart has so many messages. To be able to communicate, you matter, I love you, you're part of my life, you remain and resonate in my inner world, well, you can say all those things with one little heart. And if you're really going for it, you'll send two.
Mm-hmm.
Something is lost. So I think that whether it's a young organization with young leaders, an established organization with mature leaders, or a combination, human-only traits, connection to what makes us thrive, and how we interrelate and how we are interdependent is a core foundation to everything. We call it soft skills. And soft skills are not strategies, it's who we are as people. And the more authentic, more sincere, more genuine we live those qualities, the more you impact your life and the world. Yeah.
And so going back to this subject of the young companies, nowadays the companies have got these leisure areas with bar,
food,
whatever, everything. And there are other companies like Avenchi of Bernardo Bonjean, who seems to be more involved in the content they offer to his employees. Do you have any view on this?
Well, so first of all, he's a revolutionary. You know, he's incredible. To your point, he's really interested in content that develops the human mind. Not just the technical side of his business, but how do you make a person go again from feeling good to great,
Mm-hmm.
where they feel totally empowered to risk. Because in the end, hard conversations or these sort of programs are really about inviting greater risk through proper due diligence in life. That's what technology in the world is all about.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit back, you will be obsolete in a very short time, because everything is innovating so quickly. The only place we don't innovate is the human mind. We're stuck. And through lessons we innovate, but not consciously, making it a daily habit to explore. Like we explore economics and politics and so on. So content, of course, is very relevant. And things like Google or what Avanti is doing, providing the environment, is a starting point. But you still have to find a way to get your staff, your leaders, any individual to dig in. And that doesn't happen without consciously sitting down and giving yourself time, and perhaps with a coach or someone, to say, where am I getting stuck? We learn two ways, generally speaking. You make mistakes, and you learn. And time teaches you whether you want to or not. But who has time, and who wants to do it at the expense of mistakes? So there's a more simpler way to start to access oneself. And the beauty of Asia, India, the wisdom of that time is it was all about self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
What we call positive psychology, what we talk about in terms of neuroscience and the impact of being happy in order to succeed versus succeeding in then trying to be happy, really coming at it from the inside out. And that's my work. That's the world today, moving more and more towards meditation, more and more towards looking inward, more and more towards wanting to connect, whether they do it through technology or like we're doing now.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's, person to person is reducing, unfortunately.
Because you're talking about technology and well, obviously at blastU we're very much into connection, innovation, entrepreneurship as well. How do you think innovation and technology will impact our future, which is actually today? I mean, how do you think that's, because we always the big question is what is going to happen to our emotional intelligence versus that technology, and how do you?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it'll go in both directions. If you look at apps like Headspace or Calm, obviously through technology, we're making accessible the notion of looking inward. You know, at whatever level. There are many, many more people today willing to close their eyes, even if it's for 3 minutes or a moment, because of technology.
Yeah.
You know?
We are partners with Vivo, and they have an app of meditation, which is having a lot of success, because I think there is this. But yeah.
So I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, technology will provide that, but even within Headspace or Vivo, I think they're very valuable. But something that people don't realize, an engineer, a computer scientist who creates apps around meditation, that alone isn't sufficient, because the human mind is far more than close your eyes. We're talking about calm the mind down and then be willing to peer into it. The patterns, the things that are working or not working, and that is much more than just calm the mind down. You need to go calm it down so that you give yourself the opportunity to go under the waves of the ocean. You know?
We should learn this when we're babies.
Yes. I mean, it existed this way in India. It's interesting because you would go 12 years of material education, meaning reading, writing, math, science, etc. And simultaneously, you had 12 years of what we call self-study, you know, spiritual education, if you want to say that. How does your mind work? The principles of mind. How does the emotions work? How do you interrelate? How do you keep the mind positive? Nobody, not at home, not in school, teaches us how to manage our own mind. Negative emotions, when we feel disconnected, how to reconnect. These are skills, talent, tools that we have to give so that you function and do better in the material world, outside. And I talk about this a lot, which is success is 200%. If you're successful outside but you don't have a smile on your face, you're only 50% successful. Or you have a smile, oh, I'm happy, but you have an empty begging bowl. That's also 50% success, you know. Inner and outer success, both together, is really the sign of greatness and true success. And if you come from the inside out, you change the game exponentially, that much faster. There's no better technology than your own awareness of how your mind works. It's a computer. It's technology that's malleable and moldable and plastic, your brain, your central nervous system. And it can create anything and everything. Just look at how we're evolving. That which is creating the technology is that much more valuable. How come we don't look at that? Why don't we put attention on that? You know, what you create is smaller than you, isn't it?
Yes.
But we never think about it that way.
No.
The world is lost in paraphernalia, in status, who has what. I mean, the people that we look up to, it's all about superficial things.
Yes.
You know, we're not digging in. Oh, I don't know, Kim Kardashian. I don't know who's very popular here, but this is a woman who at one point became famous because her and her husband made a recording of their intimate moments. I'm not, good or bad isn't the issue, and of course she has evolved from there to do something else, but everything is about what she's wearing and what she's not wearing and how she looks and doesn't look. We got to dig deeper.
Yes, definitely.
We have to dig deeper.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting the way you put this thing about meditation and mindfulness. It's listening to you. It's obvious that we should start really at an early age, so that it's something that you can grow with and evolve with, and it would facilitate so many issues.
Well,
that
because
we have.
it's a habit you have to culture with eyes open, ears open,
Heart
meaning
open.
our senses open. Where's our attention? Outside.
Yes.
I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm hearing to what's happening outside of me. Correct? Well, someone has to, at some point, earlier the better, of course, by my standard, has to get us to look, listen, feel, and hear what goes on inside. A thought comes first, then comes action, then come the result. And in between this thought and action, there's all kinds of noise. Judgment, self-doubt, self-deprecation, yes. Judgment of other, separation, isolation, exclusion. So between this thought and action, we need to know how to penetrate. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
To the stiller, quieter place of intuition, insight, eureka, creativity, innovation. This place where life begins, where it springs up. And where does life begin? I don't mean it in some esoteric sense. Where does thought come from? We know we have thoughts only after they have arisen. And we judge the thought only after it has arisen. Based on our standards, we say a good thought or a bad thought. Now, what do you do about it? How do you stop it from erupting if it's negative?
Yes, how do you fight it?
Yeah, no fighting it. This is the first lesson. Thoughts are thoughts. They come from somewhere by themselves and they go somewhere by themselves if you allow it. You're not generating the thought. That's my point. Maggie, only after a thought has come up, you say, oh, I have too much thinking and it's not so positive. Well, so why do you have to take responsibility for something you're not generating? It's erupting in you. You know, this is what I mean by listening to the subtler inner voice and self beyond the thoughts. There's something more to you. A baby, let's go, a newborn baby to however many years old. If you look at a child, you're a mother, you have 3 children.
Yes.
The baby that was 1 day old in your hands, did you feel it had alertness, awareness, or intelligence, the boy or the girl? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. They don't have intellect, but there is intelligence. Pure power of intellect. Perhaps you can see it like this or hear it like this. If you snap the finger, they may not have muscle coordination, but they look, they acknowledge the sound. There is awareness, there is consciousness, there is intelligence. That mind is not filled with thoughts, is it? There's intelligence, but it's not noisy. I like it, I don't like it, it should be, it should not be, am I good, am I bad, he's okay, he's no. Oh my God, it's still. It's pure intelligence. It's from that intelligence something rises, a creative thought, a positive thought, or a negative thought. And from that thought, based on how still you are, you take action. Or you just think about it more and more and you go talk and you have therapy and then you talk again and you research some more and 10 years go by and you haven't taken any risk to start anything in your life. Correct?
Correct.
But if you look at babies, they don't operate this way. There's very little gap between thought and action. Their risk-taking, their potentiality to go for it, their confidence, their sense of, I'm with a yes in my life versus I'm not sure, that lukewarm, drabby feeling that you see so many people walk around. That's not it. They're not afraid. We teach them. It's required. But we're born with where we want to end up in life. People like me or other leaders and coaches and whatever goes on in life is so that we reconnect back to what we were born with. Yes?
Yes.
So thought is a separate entity. Do you understand? No one has ever peeled the onion and made us realize, hey, you're not just your thoughts. And when you're tired, do you notice that your thoughts function a certain way? And if you eat poorly, do you notice that your thoughts are not the way they could serve you? They're not the best. And do you notice if you've eaten the wrong thing? your thoughts are not serving you? And do you notice that you've taken on beliefs and assumptions from other people without being conscious? Now let's wake up. Let's look at what's going on inside and then come outside with it.
Yeah.
So we don't have to fight thoughts.
Sure.
We don't even have to change thoughts. We need to access where they originate from. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's.
I'm trying to.
Well, okay. Let me give a metaphor. If you look at an ocean,
Yes.
the waves are thoughts.
Yes.
Where do the waves come from? They're not on the surface. The wind could be doing it, but there's also currents under the water,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is the ocean the waves?
No.
But also could be.
Yeah.
The power of the ocean is far more than the waves. How do you get out of the thrashing of the waves if you're in the ocean? I don't like it. It's good. It's not good. It's bad. It's okay. It's not okay. She's good. How do you get? You dive in.
You embrace it.
Well, you dive in, right? If you just go 1 foot under the waves, it's still.
Yes.
If you go 3 feet, it's more still.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really go under, there's enormous power in the ocean, much more than the waves on the surface.
But you can lose yourself
No.
in this power.
No. No. The power is not some mechanical force. It has intuition, insight, wisdom, eureka. It is light itself. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds esoteric and it sounds way out there, but you were born with intelligence. You knew that your foot is not supposed to be above your head. You tried to touch the earth with it.
Yes.
You recognized the tone of your mother's voice, and if she was stressed, you felt it. The mother feels it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying that meditation is to find a way to access your essence, your raw potentiality of intelligence, energy, connection, light, thriving. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
Where you're natural, where you're relaxed, where you go for it. It's possible to do. And your insides need as much attention as your outside. And I'm not asking you to do that. I'm saying 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day. How much time do you spend with brushing your teeth, physical hygiene,
Yes.
Grooming, What about mental hygiene?
Very good.
Right?
I have to.
We have to do that.
Yes, we have to do that. Definitely.
Everything from diet to thinking impacts our life. And I'd say thinking more than the diet. But they go together.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, you see everybody with a phone all the time. And I have a 7-year-old, and she said, "Mommy, you always have your phone. Sometimes you forget your bag, but you always have your phone." And the thing about eye connection, and I see that in the corporate world, we always, like in a meeting, there's one talking and 7 people on the phone, and they're communicating amongst themselves about the meeting, and they're not looking at each other. So I think the challenge today, and you feel sometimes when you talk with someone directly, and they feel a bit uncomfortable because they are not used to the eye contact.
But you notice that loneliness, isolation, and disengagement are on the rise.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing almost as exponentially as technology is growing.
Yes.
And there's a direct relationship between the two, because in spite or beyond our efficiency is our humanity. We long to be efficient, not for efficiency's sake, not for task and goal-oriented sake, but we long for efficiency because something in us, the humanity, the potentiality within us, wants to explode and explore and connect to its greater self. One of the things I often talk about is life is continuously evolving. If you want to look at it from a science perspective, and you go back to this notion of Big Bang Theory, the theory is there was a bubble of energy, it exploded. Let me just say that there was already energy, and it exploded, and somehow that energy evolved into electrons and protons, the tiny particles, which then evolved into an organism, single cell, and eventually we end up at being human. It doesn't stop there. Now you have to explore and expand your humanity. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, of course.
Consciousness has to evolve.
Yeah.
The ability to sapient, to know that you exist separate from everything has to evolve. And that happens only through internal connection. And if you just were to get a visual, to go back to your idea of a telephone, and you're in a meeting, in a boardroom, and someone is talking, you're not really looking at each other, you're texting each other, just imagine a visual. You're on WhatsApp simultaneously, and you're texting the people in the room, and perhaps you're looking to see where your kids are and texting. If you could put all those people in one room, and you could visually get a handle on what you're doing with your mind, you're having 20 people talking at the same time. The 7 on WhatsApp and the 7 in the room, plus your children, plus this, plus that. That's insanity. It doesn't make you more efficient. At some point, the system burns out. At some point, you start to feel the isolation, because we need to touch. And it's not just physical touch. We touch through our eyes, we touch through our vibe, we touch through our tone of voice, and everything is lost in that texting, in that technology. Of course, it brings efficiency and comfort and speed. The thing is, we are not AI. AI is something we're creating outside to make our lives more simple and natural and comfortable. But if all we're doing is looking for efficiency, then actually we're saying, I am AI. I am becoming with this thing called artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Intelligence is our nature. It creates something outside. It's just like social media.
Yes.
It's media. Artificial intelligence is something outside yourself, but you are the source of the natural, innate power to create.
It's a tool. It's a
Well, yeah, but if you think about this example of the boardroom and technology and a child saying, Mom, you always have your cell phone with you. It's become an appendage. It's your third arm. And when it's not there, you act almost with the same intensity as if you actually lost your arm.
True.
There's something wrong in that.
Yes. Yes. It's because when people probably feel they're connected to something.
Well, it's an indication that people want to be connected to something. That's exactly the point. You want to be connected. And what if we could connect to not the apparatus, but those behind the apparatus on the other side?
To one another.
Yes. There's nothing wrong with texting, nothing wrong. But what if sometimes we called? What if we just called those who are the closest to us, and from time to time said hello with a tone of voice, Hello in words is very different from, hi Maggie, how are you?
But hello like this is even more different.
Well, that's right.
Yes.
So sometimes I think, we have to go back to basic skills of, did you say hi to your mother with your voice today?
Yes.
Did you give a hug today? Did you make eye contact with her today?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it in the first 20 years of your life or 15 years of your life, now imagine you end up in a business setting.
Of course.
No matter how much advancement we have in AI, you'll still have to deal with people. And I really believe human-only traits will become so valuable, so necessary, that's where you'll start charging, crazy amount of money and looking for that resource, because in the end, we're going to realize that we're human always first.
Yes.
First.
And also there's the part of creativity that AI cannot really...
Well, I mean, maybe it can. We don't even know how far it will go, but the origin of that creativity is you. You're the source, you know. And there's no way around babies and taking care of babies and connecting to children, and you know, there's just no way around it. And those are human-only traits. It's all about our greatest, highest humanity.
And how do you, because you give so much to other people, how do you reset yourself, or do you need to reset yourself, or how do you update yourself with what's going on in the
we all have to. Right?
Yes.
We shower every day because we refresh.
Yes.
You know, we brush our teeth twice a day because we refresh. And the mind has to do the same. And the wider your vision, the more energy you have. Right? It's funny, I'm working on a book that should come out next year, and it's all about how to tap into the source of your potentiality and your power. And one of the things that we don't realize is our mindset, how we configure our thinking directly has an impact on our energy, access to our potentiality, access to our intelligence, and our creativity. And so something that over time that has come for me is this notion that I'm much more than my thoughts or my achievements or my titles or my possessions. You know, if this is great, it's not because it has someone's label on it. It's great because I wear it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, of course.
And so increasing energy, keeping your life energy up, your batteries fully charged, is the fastest way to handle your mind. How do you keep your energy up? Well, some attention to food, some attention to exercise, which is obvious. Meditation, you know, that's another thing that's obvious. And being aware of your own mindset. What is important to you in the start of a day and at the end of a day? If you just ask these two questions, you'd sleep better. And of course, there's no solution like sleeping well, right?
Yeah, true.
We'd shut down the pharmaceutical industry if we just slept well, which is a nature's gift. Children never had trouble sleeping. How come we do? And we call that growing older, mature. We can't sleep. We can't digest what we eat. You know?
Yeah, but we can't a lot of not digesting our food is because also food has changed.
Well, yes.
Food has been processed differently.
Right. And if we were more alert, more conscious, more willing to risk, we'd speak up more.
But we're starting to speak up.
Exactly.
I think this is the good thing, is that we're starting to have a better conscience of what's happening.
Correct.
Of what was imposed to us. Now we're trying to think and say, listen, no, this we've had enough of that.
I don't want to get into politics, but I was here when the elections were taking place. On some level, I'm in Brazil. I've been coming for so many years, for so long. So I get it. I really have a lot of connection to the country and its resources and
its people as well.
And its people a lot, you know. So for me, it's a personal conversation as I explore what's happening. And without getting into the results or anything, what's very, very important to realize is it's waking people up on either side to say, we have to talk. We have to connect. We have to take responsibility. We have to be active. We have to stand up, whether it's for clean, healthy eating and whatever else that goes on. And I think what happens is sometimes there's a big price that gets paid in order to wake up.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to wake up. And this moment of the country's journey is creating wakefulness. And And that's a gift in itself, because
and communication.
communication
People are
yes,
starting to speak out, and which is very good.
Exactly. And a lot of connection, right?
Yes.
People are interacting, not just hola hola and keep walking, you know.
True, very true. Thank you very much,
Thank
Raj,
you.
for your time and your generosity.
Thank you for your smile and your energy, and you always strike me with a lot of bubbles, buoyancy, you know, and I am sure other people tell you that, but I really appreciate the glint in your eyes.
No, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful. Thank you. Very, very nice to have you at blastU.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you.